There was once a time where Starfield was seen as the next big thing for Bethesda, but as of right now it honestly feels like it's fading into nothing. What once was meant to be this sprawling world with thousands of planets for you to explore now seems to barely be keeping anybody's attention whatsoever. Numbers don't lie either. At launch in September 2023, Starfield hit a peak of over 330,000 concurrent players on Steam alone, a testament to the hype surrounding Bethesda's first new IP in 25 years. But fast forward to mid-2025 and the game's daily player count has plummeted to an average of under 5,000 on Steam, with similar trends showing on Xbox with the Game Pass. So why did Starfield suffer from this sort of fall-off, if you want to call it? Why is nobody interested in playing, modding, or even talking about the game anymore? Well, in this video, I'm going to be breaking all of it down and why Bethesda truly has a problem here with Starfield if it is to show how they treat their existing titles. Before we do start as well, guys, it turns out that only 0.3 of you who actually tune into my videos are actually subscribed, so if you do want to go ahead and click that subscribe button whilst you're at it, it really would mean a lot. It really does help support the channel. So anyway, why the drop in Starfield's players? Well, a lot of us have voiced our frustrations across all sorts of platforms, pointing directly to Starfield's core design flaws. The game's promise of boundless exploration fell flat for many of us, with procedurally generated planets, generic and bland NPCs, very uncompelling fetch quests over and over again, and the same outposts actually dotted on each of these thousands of planets. As well as that, the game's reliance on fast travel really would take you out of that immersive experience that the whole point Starfield was about. It was about you getting into that ship and traveling to each of these planets. The loading screens as well didn't quite help immerse you in the world they were trying to give you. Unlike Skyrim's vibrant, handcrafted world, every single village had a unique twist to it. With Starfield, I just felt like I seen the same planet over and over again, just maybe with a patch of grass or some trees. And ultimately, these kind of aspects are what drove the player base away completely. There was no reason for us to say, there was no reason to keep going with this game. I felt like there was no replay value whatsoever. After I did my first playthrough, I didn't really feel the need to do another one. I didn't feel like I wanted to do a new game plus, even though it was a pretty interesting mechanic added in the game where you could get different endings. I wasn't inclined to do that. I was more than happy just checking out the YouTube videos on what you could have actually got rather than experience it for myself, and that is a massive red flag. But it's not just the player base that is dwindling, but the modding community as well. Bethesda's a lifeline for keeping these games alive decade after actual release. Modders have historically been the backbone of Bethesda's ecosystem, turning Skyrim into a timeless classic with over 100,000 mods for it on Nexus Mod, breathing new life into it even though it is so old. Even games like Fallout 4 have thousands of mods on Nexus Mod that you can go ahead and get for absolutely free, and it gives the game an entirely new perspective because modders appreciate and love it. So if a timeless classic like Skyrim and a fairly controversial game like Fallout 4 is getting constant new support and new mods every single day, why have people stepped away from Starfield? Now, as of today, Nexus Mods lists just over 10,000 mods for Starfield, a fraction of the 60,000 plus of Fallout 4 and Skyrim's 100,000 plus. While Fallout 4 and Skyrim, guys, eventually had to embrace this whole culture of actually paying for mods that the community would make, still an absolutely ridiculous idea. Starfield's push for monetized mods early in their release further alienated modders from actually wanting to make them altogether for the game. They felt like Bethesda were prioritizing profits right off the bat of the launch of Starfield, looking at profits over the community creativity. The game's lackluster mechanics didn't exactly inspire the same passion to create on Skyrim's open-ended systems as well. While the game was ambitious, they're just too rigid to support the kind of transformative mods that define Bethesda's earlier games. For example, while Skyrim had mods that would quite literally change the entire game to make it a brand new one, even Fallout 4 with Fallout London and look at Skyblivion now, I see nothing on the scale of that being created for Starfield whatsoever. And I suppose when accumulation of all of these factors come into play, then the lack of buzz is quite understandable. When players aren't interested, then modders aren't interested, and if modders aren't interested in keeping the game fresh and alive with their own ideas, then why the hell should players come back in the first place? The problem with Starfield is, like I I said, it has very little replayability value for me personally. So when I want to go back to a game and I want to spice it up with some things, when I see a list of very vague, uninspired mods, not anyone's fault by the way, because why would you want to mod this game, but I don't entirely want to do a game where I play the vanilla version because it absolutely sucks. The game's ambitious scope, 1000 planets, space combat, faction quests, should have sparked endless replayability, but instead it has left players feeling disconnected, and with many saying they've seen it all after 2 hours of playing, which is pretty bad. Especially considering this is the title that took Bethesda the longest to actually make, the biggest development cycle. So when you have a game of your biggest development cycle, the most ambitious one in years, and it flops, why do you decide to completely abandon it, even though they think they're going to continue updating it? They'll keep adding these quality of life supports, these little bug patches, but they won't ever truly back this game and try to bring it up to the standard that it should have been, and that for me is a very, very worrying sign. And to really understand how far Starfield has lost its way, I think you need to go and take a look across the street at my one of my favorite games of all time, Cyberpunk 2077, and the comeback it had from 2020 to 2025. As all of you are probably aware, Cyberpunk had an absolute disaster of a launch. Everyone was T-posing, the quests were broken, everything you can possibly imagine went wrong. They quite literally pulled the game from the PlayStation Store, it was that bad, offering refunds for everyone who bought it. But CD Projekt Red didn't abandon ship. Over the next 5 years, they embarked on one of gaming's greatest ever comebacks, consistently adding new content to the game and fixing everything that was previously broken, making it the game that they originally wanted to release to us fans. When you go and compare how much work Bethesda are doing in comparison to CDPR, it really does show the difference between the two companies and what they actually think of their latest title. When people criticize its repetitive planets, when they give them feedback they could have went and learned from, even when they had a fairly lackluster start with a lot of room for improvement, they just decided to not take it on board and try and charge us for some mods. Bethesda's post-launch support for Starfield has been a slow drip of updates, mostly focused on these bug fixes and minor quality of life tweaks, improving things like performance and UI, but the core complaints, empty planets, lackluster exploration, went unaddressed, obviously. We had the creation kit update in May 2025, and it actually gave modders some better tools as well, but I think this came a bit too late for many of the community who had already moved on. Despite that anyway, Bethesda's legacy is built on games that define generations. Skyrim is still a cultural juggernaut 14 years after that 2011 release, with its open world modding communities and endless replayability. Fallout 4 as well, despite that mixed reaction in 2015, became a fan favourite thanks to its rich DLC, and a modding scene that is still thriving to this day, and they actually care about the game. And when you do have Starfield, a game with lackluster support, sparse updates, one single underwhelming expansion in Shattered Space, and then radio silence on your future plans, it leaves players feeling a bit burnt out. This sort of erosion of trust isn't just about Starfield, but I think it's more about what it signals for Bethesda's future as well. The studio's next big projects, The Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5, are among the most anticipated games in the industry, with fans waiting years for a return to Tamriel. What has Starfield done to the reputation of Bethesda and how fans are perceiving this next title? I'm at the point where I feel like they've honestly abandoned this game. They've kind of moved on to their next title, and yes, maybe they're just looking forward to the future, I can understand that. They've seriously got some big projects ahead, but it is still very concerning how they are just easy to jump ship so quickly after so many years of development for such a big project. Maybe there's too many things done wrong out the gate that just can't be fixed. The fact that those planets are procedurally generated, you can't just go around and handcraft them yourself, but modders can do that, and when modders aren't interested in your game, then I feel like that's where you really do have a big problem. Bethesda has built an empire on games that fans can play for years, but Starfield's neglect is shaking that foundation. When players and modders feel abandoned, there's no clear plan to fix it, it is quite hard to stay excited for their future titles like The Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5. I suppose you can say Bethesda have turned things around with a game like Fallout 76, but why would they let Starfield drift away if that was the case? Fans deserve answers, and Bethesda is running out of time to prove they're still in the studio that we trust to deliver epic worlds. Now, with this game game being left drifting in the cosmos, fans are understandably frustrated, the ones who still care about this game, but the silver lining between this is the fact that this pivot away from Starfield could mean that they're channeling all of their energy into the franchises that actually matter, the franchises that made these guys legends. We all know Elder Scrolls 6, announced back in 2018 with that interesting trailer. This game has been the holy grail for fans craving a return to Tamriel. It has been over a decade since Skyrim actually came out, and we want more content in the world of Elder Scrolls. Would you personally want an updated and improved Starfield, or would you want more energy put into Elder Scrolls 6? If I'm being quite open and honest, I would prefer a better Elder Scrolls 6 than an improved Starfield. You've got Fallout as well. The franchise is riding a massive wave of popularity since that 2024 TV show on Prime. Bethesda are a company about numbers, yes, so if they want to go ahead and follow that momentum through, which I'm absolutely certain they will, that means Starfield isn't going to get the attention that it necessarily needs. But anyway, let me know what you think. Are you kind of disappointed that Starfield has sort of been left to rot on the sidelines, or are you happy that maybe the priorities for Bethesda have shifted forward to their future titles? That'll be all from me, but make sure to let me know in the comments about what you think. As well as that, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great rest of your day.